Hey everybody, welcome to Growing Up Geek, the weekly podcast for geek entertainment and nostalgia. My name is Brad, and I'm joined by my brother Rob.
Hey everyone.
And, being brothers, we have a lot of geeky memories from childhood, hence the name of the show. So what we've done is a little different today. Matt could not join us, but we've each basically brought a memory to the table from childhood, and we haven't discussed it ahead of time, but we're just going to drop the bomb and let the tears flow. And so, being as I am the older one and my memory is the more feeble...
Your memory is going first.
Exactly. My memory is literally going first. Do you remember Captain EO?
Well, I have to say, okay, so I didn't know what memory he was going to drop on me, what sort of, geek nostalgic thing, so...
Yes. Well, why don't you describe what that is?
Yeah, Michael Jackson. This was a ride, it wasn't really a ride, it was a 3D show that you would go to Epcot Center to see.
Right, at Disney World.
Yeah, I think it was, the first 3D, extravaganza thing that they ever had.
Right.
And it starred Michael Jackson journeying across the galaxy to rescue some sort of planet with the power of his music and his musical crew.
Yes.
Wow.
He had a crew of robots, and they were shaped like musical instruments, or actually they became musical instruments.
No. Yeah. I mean, Hooter wasn't a robot.
Yeah. One of them was named Hooter.
Yeah, he had a keyboard. He was very much like the guy from Star Wars.
And Michael Jackson would go, Hooter! And,
we all remember that. And somehow that made it into Disney.
Right.
They're like, yes, a character named Hooter. Michael Jackson shouting that.
It was really weird, but I was obsessed.
I think did you have a Captain EO t-shirt?
I think I might have made one. But yeah,
that is the peak of obsession right there.
Right. This is spoiler alert, I guess, for any people who haven't seen Captain EO.
Well, you can't see it now.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
But there was a portion toward the end where he tears his shirt off and he has a rainbow on his shirt and the rainbow shoots out. And he fights sort of an evil queen that comes out of the ceiling and has sharp claws. And this all sounds fake, but it's actually real.
As real as Disney can get, at least.
And he shoots a beam out of his chest, and he defeats the evil queen that way. I remember I recorded the making of Captain EO off of the Disney Channel, and I watched that thing over and over and over again, which we had this Sears VCR, and for as long as I could remember, the play button or the record button, one of them was broken.
Yeah.
We had a golf tee jammed in there for some reason as our play button, and when you'd press it, the VCR would kind of go, "Aw, yeah."
Aw, yeah.
That was like the sound.
Which, would exponentially increase the enjoyment of movies right away.
Right, of course.
She's like, I don't know what I'm watching, but it's already approved by my VCR.
So I would say I was pretty obsessed with it, but yeah, it was a 3D attraction.
Well, yeah, I remember the little furry guy would fly out towards the end, and I have a specific memory of me reaching up to tickle him.
Right.
And he actually kind of reacted. And I was like, oh, it's real, because I was just a little kid with my stupid colorful hat on so that Mom would know where I was.
Right.
Yeah,
it's funny because Dad actually has lazy eye, and he
does.
He couldn't see the 3D. So there's a lot of moments there during Disney where there was 3D attractions in that day, and he would just sit and kind of watch the audience react and kind of laugh at everybody, because there would just be a sea full of people reaching out going, whoa, and he would just be watching a regular movie, essentially, with blurry images.
It's not like they're ever going to give you a one of those picture things when you're on a 3D ride. Anytime you go on a roller coaster or any kind of scary thing, they have that moment where they take the picture and then you can buy it later. Never going to happen on a 3D ride because you look freaking ridiculous. It's just glasses that aren't sized appropriately to your head, and you're just all kind of reaching out. But I don't know, man. They still have some really good 3D stuff there if you see Bug's Life or anything when you go. Yeah. So, I mean, Disney's still rocking it with the 3D stuff, but it really all began, I think, with Captain EO. Good choice. All right.
Reaching back.
So now it's time. I don't know. So now it's time for mine.
Okay.
Mine's probably a little more broader, but...
No, go ahead.
Christmas.
Okay.
I believe it's 1992.
Okay.
Ish. Around 1990X.
Okay.
You and me had decided to combine our Christmas funds. There's a set limit how much we could ask Mom and Dad for. So we combined ours. I can still remember, and I recently saw there was a video that was taken of this, so it's great.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen this video, by the way.
We're tearing through boxes, looking all around. We knew which one it was because there's a big box in there, but anyway, we tear it open, and then you shout out with a retainer in your mouth, Rob, Sega CD!
Yeah. Oh,
and great. I was so excited that I had to run to the bathroom.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I remember that. Like, you had internal problems because of the Sega CD.
I was just so darn excited.
Yeah, what happened there?
Oh, just, I don't know, Christmas breakfast.
Yeah. Oh, and there was always a Christmas breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
Ham and all this stuff, and they were, like, getting intestinally excited.
Cinnamon rolls. But, yeah, so my geek memory is the Sega CD, which is this attachment to the Sega Genesis. We really got into it. I mean, like, a lot of people, like, they never even had a Sega CD in their house, nor do they really even know what it is. They know Genesis, they know Super Nintendo, but, I mean, we literally had more Sega CD games than we did Genesis games. I think we had one Genesis game.
Yeah, we just had Street Fighter. We rented everything else.
So, I mean, I was looking through a list here of Sega CD games, and we have to go with first the ones that we got on Christmas Day with the thing.
Yeah.
Firstly, Sewer Shark.
Oh, yeah. Most of the games were basically cheap FMV, they called it. Sequences that you would control with the directional pad. It really wasn't that advanced.
Right.
And I have these memories. Dad would always say, well, still looks like Nintendo.
Yeah.
With each console generation, we would have to try more and more to convince Dad that it was better than Nintendo. And I think it wasn't until PlayStation that he actually finally agreed that, okay, now the graphics are actually better than Nintendo. But even all the way up to Sega CD, it was like video sequences, you're like, still like Nintendo.
Yeah, exactly. Here you have like an actual filmed guy. Now, here's the funny thing, though, is I would try and like, it was crap. I mean, it wasn't even like full colored. I would show it to like our grandfather. I'd be like, hey, look, it's like television. He's like, no, it's not like television. I mean, he's even an old man, and he can tell. But we were still really into it, and I mean, it was all about the graphics back then. Exactly. So, yeah, Sewer Shark, a terrible game. I mean, like, you shot rats in a tunnel, and that was it,
Yes.
And eventually you got to go to the beach at the end.
Right, whatever that meant. Yeah, Jason always does this impression of, like, the chainsaw gun, or whatever it is. The one line the guy says, and it's like, yeah, it's less than B-movie quality. It spawned the phrase, this looks worse than a Sega CD game, which we can now use for the lowest of quality films.
Exactly. The other game that came with it, this is also awesome, was Dragon's Lair.
Right, exactly. We got Dragon's Lair. Again, another barely a game, but yeah, I was going to say, Jason actually texted me the other day, and I looked down and the text just says, Dragon's Lair's coming out on Blu-ray. I'm so getting that. And I just thought, wow. It's simple enough that it can be played on a Blu-ray player. It requires no real video game hardware to run, so it's not exactly a complex game.
Right.
Although it was ridiculously difficult.
Dirk the Daring would walk up to a tentacle and he'd go, ha ha ha! And then you have to push the green, and then he would die.
Yeah, I wonder what Mom thought of, like, the noises just coming out of, like, the ah, ah. Another game like that I'm reminded of that faked being next gen was Mansion of Hidden Souls.
Oh, yes.
Which was pre-rendered sequences, pretty garbage looking, but they took you through a mansion, this haunted mansion, and I was so obsessed with that game. And Mansion of Hidden Souls had ghosts and things in it, which wasn't so kosher in our house.
Yeah.
I remember I spent extra time taking issues of video game magazines and cutting out paragraphs about how good the game was, and pasting them onto a piece of paper that would then give to Mom and Dad. It explained the game and the story and everything. And I would carefully cut out the sections that revolved around ghosts.
Yeah.
So I
and it's called Mansion of Hidden Souls. I mean,
another one for Sega CD that literally never came out, at least not that I can remember, was called Rise of the Robots.
Yeah.
And I had a poster of that game that I had handmade, hanging over my bed for several days in anticipation. Of course, the greatest Sega CD game is Sonic CD.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, not all Sega CD games were crap, like Star Wars Rebel Assault. There were good ones, and the two that pop right into mind are Sonic CD, which is definitely the reason to have ever owned that thing, and Sylpheed.
Sylpheed was another very on-rails kind of... It was a space shooter. And it was a G-rated... At the time, there wasn't really, like, the whole rating system thing, I guess. Sega had their own rating system. Mm-hmm. And they gave it, like, a GA or something. Whatever the... general audience. So it was a general audience game, but actually contained a lot of profanity. And if you went through the BGM menu, like the sound, you could hear all these things over and over again. But there was one line in particular where I remember it wasn't a profanity, but it was a line that I'll never forget, which is one of the guys shouting, "They just blew up our beds!" And it's like, what? I don't even see how that relates to the game, but it's like, all right, thanks.
Yeah, boom! They just blew up our beds!
Yeah, it's like an entire medical frigate explodes. And the first thing the guy thinks of is, holy crap, my bed.
I think he meant bass.
It might have been bass. Admittedly.
Right.
But Sonic CD is amazing soundtrack and really awesome gameplay, too.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward. Actually, the makers of Mass Effect, BioWare, are working now on a Sonic the Hedgehog RPG for the Nintendo DS.
Yeah.
Which is the one console where Sonic is actually still doing well because it's 2D games.
Right.
And
so
I'm actually pretty excited about that. And, who knows? Sadly, Sylpheed that recently came out on the 360 is kind of crap. But, even a system like Sega CD can create some memorable franchises that keep going on.
Right.
There's no more prize fighters out there. That's
thank God.
What's your name? Nozzle.
Yeah, what was with that line, too? It's a series of confusing lines on Sega CD. I remember, what's your name? Nozzle. I don't know, look it up. Wikipedia that stuff.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, so those are some geek memories. If you had a Sega and you attached a Sega CD and then attached a 32X until you had a hulking aircraft carrier of a console, give us an email and tell us about it. We'd love to hear from you. Our email address is mail@growing-up-geek.com. Sadly, Matt cannot be here. He's away on a job tonight, but we will look forward to sharing some more and hearing some of your stories. Thank you for listening. My name is Brad.
I'm Rob.
And we'll see you later.